That's where he missed a couple of games. It's been tender, and that's not a good sign.
We see a little one-on-one. Watching it, let's see if we can kind of see Jokic tries to get up really close, which is, sometimes when a player does that, and it looks like they almost bump knees.
It's Jokic's first foul, and you saw right away.
Support for the show, FYF Sports, is brought to you by Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all of your below-the-waist grooming needs. Get 20% off and free shipping with coupon code FYFCREW at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code FYFCREW. Your balls will thank you.
All I hear is yap, 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 yap. Ain't talking about nothing, right? Watch this. We gon' bring that pressure.
Just a little FYI, FYF, 20K sub 6 months, what's next? They been hating at first, now they calling us the best. Hit up YouTube, tell them cut the check. Just a FYI, FYF, 20K sub 6 months, what's next? Woo, fuck your feelings, we all know who the real is. I be getting to it, ain't wasting no time. Walking straight in, we ain't waiting in line. Fuck your feelings, you don't care about mine. You a YouTube gangster, don't be yelling out slime. Or you talking LB, talking Ticket TV. Ain't nobody watching them, all the viewers be sleep. 5 years in, all your subs is your friends. Ticket TV, watch your cars again. Just a little FYI, FYF, 20K sub 6 months, what's next? They been hating at first, now they calling us the best. Hit up YouTube, tell them cut the check. Just a FYI, FYF, 20K sub 6 months, what's next? Woo, fuck your feelings, we all know who the real is. All know, shop don't close, working 24, trying to make the channel grow. Look at them, pointing fingers, hating on the low. You can't compete with our podcast show. Couldn't make it in the league, so we got on TV. Crying by LeBron like a little baby.
Hey, it's FYF Sports, man. It's Lamont. We back with another podcast video today. We're going to be talking about yesterday's game of the day. That's the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets. Now, the Lakers are going to have a series of games this week that's really going to put them to the test. And this week started off with a game, again, that was really going to test them. Again, this is a Laker team that I've said multiple times, even though that they've been playing great basketball prior to the game. I think they were standing at about 21-6, one of the best records in the NBA. I don't think they've been playing very consistently, and I don't think they've played their best basketball yet. Anthony Davis dealing with some injuries, and we'll elaborate on his situation a little later in the show. But I think they've had issues identifying a true bench, the rotational guys coming off the bench in the end of the first quarter, going into the second half. Who are going to be key guys off your bench in situational lineups? Is it going to be Schroeder, or are they going to keep LeBron James at the point guard in late game situations? How are they going to implement the Morris twin a little bit more? He's had some DNPs. Caruso hasn't played to the level of basketball that he played in the NBA playoff bubble. So I'm curious to see what direction are the Lakers going to go. And I think after today, with the injury to Anthony Davis, and we're going to check that injury out. We're also going to elaborate a little bit more on the seriousness of that injury. But we really need to speak on, how are the Lakers going to adapt and deal with life without Anthony Davis? Because the way this injury looks, and I've dealt with Achilles injuries myself, even if it's not a torn Achilles tendon, the Achilles tendinitis or Achilles tendinosis or strained an Achilles, these things take time to heal. So we'll be getting into that later. Before we get into this video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to the video if you haven't done so already. On Saturday, we just eclipsed 20K subscribers. But it doesn't stop there. The grind definitely does not stop. We're going to continue to keep grinding and growing. All right, we're going to continue with the live streams. Today we'll be also having a live stream. Now today's live stream is going to be a little bit later. All right, so on Mondays and Fridays we're going to have our late night live streams. Those live streams are going to start at about 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So for our red eyes, for people who work those afternoon shifts and they getting in late. All right, or if you are working a third shift job and you just want to tune into the show, those shows are for you. On Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're going to have our early afternoon shows as well. At least if you're here on the West Coast, it's going to be around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for everybody else on the Midwest. So make sure you're still tuning in. All you have to do, again, if you don't know what time the show is, or if we don't start the show right on time that day, just make sure you smash the like, hit the subscribe, also hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever we're about to go live. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook because we drop notifications on all of those platforms as well. But like I said, today we have a very interesting game to speak on. Now we're going to go into detail. I'm going to play a short clip about the Anthony Davis video, or at least the Anthony Davis injury a little later. But Anthony Davis limped into the locker room with an Achilles tendon strain. Now we know that he missed a few games last week due to Achilles tendinosis. All right, but now we see him leave this game with an Achilles tendon strain, and he's gonna miss a few games. He's gonna have an MRI today. So I mean, the only thing we can do now is wait to see what the results of that is. But it's just basically saying he aggravated it. He experienced some swelling. He definitely did not return, and this is a game where the Lakers actually faltered, and they lost this game in the end. So we're going to go over a few of those highlights again. But again, I want the primary aspect of this show to feature on Anthony Davis and what can the Lakers do moving forward, because again, they're going to have to deal with life. They're going to have to adjust to life without Anthony Davis. I think guys like Montrezl Harrell, they're going to have to start earning those paychecks. Guys are going to need to step up big because they're about to go through a tough stretch. So we're going to go over games that they may, the games that they have, their next 10 games. Are they winnable without Anthony Davis? And are they going to be able to hold down the fort until their superstar power forward comes back? But let's go ahead and we're going to get over here to the drawing board. All right, we got this Laker Nugget game. This was a game in the first half was a kind of a high-paced, high-scoring game. This Denver team, although they have one of the slower paces in the league, they can score very efficiently. Jamal Murray and Jokic, even though they take their time offensively, they're highly efficient at what they do. My quarrels with Jamal Murray are still consistency. I just hate to see a player who can have these 40 and 50 point outbursts, but then have multiple games to follow that up with, single digit scoring efforts, lackluster defense multiple times. I would love to see a little bit more consistency from him. He played great in the playoff bubble, but he's kind of went back to his inconsistent ways this season, and he just kind of disappeared for most of the season while Jokic has taken up much of the scoring load. Our THT, great take right there. And again, this Laker team and Frank Vogel is just kind of confusing me because it just does not seem as if he has a consistent lineup, especially coming off the bench. Who are your core 3 to 4 guys that you're going to be bringing off the bench every single game? Are you going to lock that in? It just seems like it kind of changes from night to night. Sometimes Taylor Horton Tucker gets DNPs. The next night, the Morris twin may get DNP. Kuzma may play 34 minutes. Next night, Kuzma may play 14 to 20 minutes. There's really no consistency, especially when you're talking about guys outside of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Where is Vogel going to find consistency? And I know he has to test a lot of things. He has to go through trial and error. I really appreciate that. And it can pay off. And it's not like they're really hurting right now to figure that out. They're still one of the top teams in the league with one of the best records. All right, LeBron with a great finish at the rim. LeBron, he had another great game. Although they didn't win, they were up against a lot of different things. This Nugget team is on a roll, on top of the AD injury. But LeBron has still been playing MVP caliber right there. Great take by Kuzma. Need to hopefully can see a little bit more of that. Hopefully we can see a little bit more of that. Great pass by LeBron. AD on the pick and roll. And this is where the AD LeBron connection. This is why, in my opinion, I think you should, whatever the doctor says Anthony Davis' timetable is, I say the Lakers should double it. All right. That's what they should do. Because when you're dealing with the Achilles with Anthony Davis, it can feel 100% and you can come out the next game and it'll flare right back up. I say double the time, the recovery time, just to make sure he's right. You just need to make sure he's right for the playoffs. All right, Schroeder sloppy with the ball right there, loses it. Horrible transition D by the Lakers. Great move. Great move by Millsap on the low post. Yeah, and see, I want y'all to, and again, this is what I mean by this Denver pace. Because they can play fast and slow at the same time. You know how they attack fast. Then they slow it down with the slow pick and roll. And because you're dealing with such high and elite offensive talents involved in the pick and roll, it makes it hard for defenses to kind of change gears and go from playing 90 miles an hour to go to playing 50 miles an hour. The change of speed, it just kind of throws teams off. All right, let's get to this pick and roll. I really want to show you guys this right here. All right, let me go a little bit farther back to get to that pick and roll. So again, we got Morris with the transition 3. But I want you guys to pay close attention to how this defense can change pace so quickly. It's a dynamic offense, and that's out of a pistol set with your big. All right, that's out of a quick pistol action set. So Jokic's actually bringing the ball up. Normally, this would be the point guard bringing the ball up. Jokic is actually, because you have a center that can bring the ball up, you can go into your pistol action a little bit more developed a lot earlier. So watch the action. You're going from semi-transition to pure offense right here. Extremely hard to guard. All right, and it puts, Morris, obviously he has to respect the shot. He has to respect the drive, so he's a bit in between. All right, and we know Murray has a little bit of sauce to his game that can keep defenses honest. If he can make this shot consistently, they're an extremely tough team to defend. Let the play develop. Tough shot. So again, transition into quick pistol action just because Jokic can bring the ball up the court. All right, not a lot of teams in the NBA can do that. Maybe the Sixers are the only other team that can actually run some type of offense that advanced. Great shot. Jokic does a great job of keeping the ball high every time he touches it. LeBron finishes the half strong with the flush right down the lane, but Lakers struggled. The Lakers in this game struggled to score and adjust to the pace of the Denver Nuggets. All right, look at Jokic bringing the ball up the court. Early pistol action creates crazy openings. When your big man can bring the ball up the court and also have this type of court vision, I mean, he's beating guards up the court, y'all. All right, when your big man can initiate the offense, normally with this pistol action, the guard has to bring it up, then they have to swing it to the big to start creating all the action, and then the guards are in movement. But they're already a play ahead. Big man has the ball at the top of the key. He's just swinging it to guards who are cutting right down the lane. Generally, it's the bigs cutting down the lane. Jokic bringing the ball up the court again, starting off the pistol action. And again, this is what throws teams off. When the defense can't get set, when you have centers bringing the ball up, normally it's your point guard bringing the ball up and they start swinging it to the center to get the offense set. It's vice versa with this team. Yeah, teams with this luxury are going to find themselves in a winning situation most games. Kuzma with the great follow. THT, solid take. Way to get into the body. Murray. It's a great find out of the 5-out set. And this is when Jokic is at his best. When Jokic is making these passes, when Jokic has double-digit assists, I want to see that stat. I'm going to be looking that stat up. When Jokic has double-digit assists, what is their record? All right, looks like a lucky finish right there by the Nuggets. That's what happens when it rains, it pours, and everything seems like it's going in. And at this point in the game, Anthony Davis was already out. He left the game with Achilles tendon strain. All right, and with Anthony Davis out, they don't have anybody dynamic enough to guard Jokic. Montrezl Harrell is not the defensive stopper that many would assume he could be. But Jokic is just kind of too skilled. All right, bad pass by LeBron going for the home run play. We get a layup on the other end. Those points kill you in the fourth quarter. Tough pass. So, I'm not an advocate of the post-entry pass from the top of the key, but they pulled it off right there. I think that's where you can really dominate and beat this team. All right, there we got it right there. Los Angeles Lakers gave this one up, moved to 21-7 on the season. Denver moves to 15-11 with the win. Denver wins this one 122-105. And this was a trend. The Lakers lost this game in a similar trend that they lost whenever they lost the game in the bubble. This was one of the things that always stood out to me. And again, it was strikingly, it was glaring today. But the Lakers on the night were 6-28 from the three-point line. Whenever they start falling in love with the three, chucking up a lot of threes at a low percentage, they usually find themselves on the losing end. They have to just believe in their identity of just being a defensive transition-oriented team that just gets layups in transition, because just chucking up threes does not work for this team. When you look at their bench, Morris was 0-2, Kuzma 1-4, Caruso 1-3. Everybody on the bench. The bench only gave you 2 3-pointers all night. And then out of your starters, LeBron James 0-5. Schroeder was solid at 2-3, but even when you're talking about your starting lineup only gave you 4 threes on the night. They went 6-28 on the evening. And it's easy to fall in love with that shot as well when you know your superstar Anthony Davis is out. And so getting to the rim and those passes to Montrezl Harrell don't seem as easy. But on the night, man, we got Anthony Davis 15 points in 14 minutes. He went out early. As we mentioned earlier, we got LeBron James with 22 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, near triple-double. Kuzma gave 19 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist off the bench. But other than that, everybody else, including Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, were just a shell of themselves. Montrezl Harrell with a terrible outing, 4 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and Schroeder with 8 points, 4 assists, and 1 rebound. When you look at the Denver Nugget team, this was definitely done by committee. Most of your starters in double figures were Millsap with 10, Jokic 23, Morris with 10, Murray with 25, solid game for him, 16 from Z Naji. Anyway, we got Frank Campbell, 15 off the bench as well. So, I mean, they did it by committee. They did it strength in numbers. But I think this is a team that again, they play at a very awkward pace because they play fast, but they quickly transition into half court. And when they play half court, they play slow. So it's like they're playing 2 styles of play in one. So you have to be a very smart team defensively to even compete with this Denver team. Maybe they can come out of this funk. They got 11 losses on the season. I know they've dealt with a number of injuries on their end as well. Would love to just really start seeing how Michael Porter Jr. is really going to evolve his game. Michael Porter Jr., with everybody in an up and down game like this, you would think he would be able to give more. Michael Porter Jr. played 30 minutes. And we're talking about he only gave 8 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist in 30 minutes, 3-11 from the field, 1-7 from the three-point line. When you look at everybody on this team played great except Michael Porter Jr., who's supposed to be that third superstar guy. Remember, they allowed Jeremy Grant to walk because of this guy, Michael Porter Jr. All right, so you got to keep that in mind. This guy needs to develop his game a little bit more quickly. But I wanted to speak on this Anthony Davis injury. All right, and then just give my thoughts on what the Lakers should do. And I know everybody's going to chime in with their 2 cents on what the Lakers should be doing, but I want to hear from the doctors. What's going on with Anthony Davis and what can be done within reasonable confines that makes sense for this Laker team going forward. Let's go ahead and get to this video, man. We got a video. We got a video by a doctor who's just kind of explaining what caused the injury, and then what to expect even after this injury happens. So let's go ahead and get to the drawing board so we can play this video. And again, in the comments, in the live chat of this comments, also as you listen to this, because again, we don't remember research purposes only. We don't want to just talk about the injury. We want to get the facts from a real doctor first, and then once we really hear from a doctor, then we can give a more speculative answer towards how long Anthony Davis may be out and what the Lakers can do while he's out to stay afloat. But let's go ahead and play this video.
Take a look at the play where he re-aggravated it tonight. Certainly this position here with his right foot as he's pushing off, this is a position where he's going into plantar flexion, pushing off on the ball of his foot, activating that gastrocsoleus complex and stressing the tendon. This is certainly a position where you worry about injury to the Achilles. As we kind of go through this play a little bit more, yeah, there's some contact. He kind of bumps knees with Jokic here. People wondered if that was initially what was going on. He then takes a second step, and here again on this move, we can see there's additional stretch on that Achilles tendon. Here, his toe is kind of up further towards the shin, which is dorsiflexion, and that's basically pulling everything along the backside of this Achilles tendon. Now, in this position, the Achilles and that muscle complex is going to be eccentrically loaded, meaning it's stretching, but it's trying to contract to then push off for AD to explode forward to get around Jokic. Now he then kind of comes through, he lands right here. This landing position doesn't look too terrible. If we fast forward, then we can of course see he's reaching down, kind of grabbing in that classic area for an Achilles injury. And then again here, grabbing right at that kind of location that we'll talk about is kind of most susceptible to these Achilles injuries, that backside of the heel, kind of that mid-substance portion. If we look here at this other view to try to get a sense of which step might have been painful for him, initially here when he pushes off that right leg, really doesn't seem to react too much. There's where we see that contact from Jokic's knees kind of bumping with him. And so I think that's why AD kind of makes that reaction he does. And then with this subsequent step where he pushes off, we don't really see too much change in terms of a clear like look back kind of snapped moment. So I really think we're talking about either this first kind of push off he made on this drive in this position, or if we advance a little bit right there when he had additional stretch on that Achilles. Now what we're officially hearing is that he re-aggravated his right Achilles tendinosis. There's some swelling, which is definitely concerning, and he's gonna get an MRI on Monday. The number one thing Lakers fans are gonna ask is why was he out there if he was dealing with Achilles pain? And this is where it's actually really important to get our terminology correct when we're talking about what was going on with his tendon. Here's AD after the Grizzlies game describing in his words what the injury actually was.
I want to say it's not the actual Achilles tendon where, you guys are thinking about, whereas, it could be scary.
Okay, so right off the bat, he's telling us that it's his impression it's not the actual tendon itself, even though they've been calling it tendinosis. Let's listen more.
I forgot what the name of it is. Something that's over that's pretty sore. So
it's something that's over it that's pretty sore, but it's not the tendon itself. This is actually a pretty big deal. So the Lakers were calling this tendinosis. Tendinosis implies degeneration, damage to the actual collagen fibers and structure of the tendon itself. Tendinitis is more of a true inflammatory process, but doesn't imply that there's actual degeneration or disorganization of the collagen fibers. But those are both problems with the tendon itself. So when AD says it's not the tendon itself, it's the thing that goes over it. So this is a tendon cross-section, and it's not like it's just bundles of collagen that are kind of freely floating there. They're organized in this structure where you have bundles of collagen fibers that are then bundled together in these fiber bundles, but all of it is surrounded by this lining called a peritoneum. It's sort of the sheath that goes around all these different ropes of collagen that make up the tendon. And that tendon sheath, the peritoneum, can develop inflammation. There can be some scar tissue that forms underneath of it. It can be painful. It can be swollen. And that's a thing called tendinosis, which would make sense that AD wouldn't really remember the word. But that's not really true damage to the tendon itself. Even now that AD has re-aggravated this, there's some swelling. That can all still be from this tendinosis. You can have swelling there. You think of basically the friction whenever you're activating those muscles and that sheath is trying to move around the fibers, that can kind of flare things up here. So the nuance here with the description is actually really important. In one condition with tendinosis, there's degeneration of the tendon. The tendon is damaged. These collagen fibers are disorganized. The tendon can become weak. And so then when we see an injury, we think more about rupture. But if it's like AD said, and it's just the thing over it, that makes me think that the Lakers feel the actual tendon structure is just fine, which then when I see a play like this, doesn't really make me think about a rupture right away. Either way, I will say the Lakers have a pretty good idea already if he suffered a major Achilles injury. There's some really basic.
All right, see, there we have it right there, man. I mean, straight from the doctor's mouth, and it's also straight from AD's mouth. So for all of those people out there that feared that this was a complete Achilles rupture, that is not accurate. You know, generally, if it was an Achilles rupture, that's something that would have been able to come out, you know, within a few hours after the game was over with. That's not the case right there. I think they're lucky with that. In his situation, I think he's dealing with something that I actually dealt with myself. I you know, about 2-3 years ago, I also dealt with Achilles tendonitis, Achilles tendinosis. And it all had things to do with, just like what this doctor just said, things with the fibers surrounding your Achilles tendon. And what happens is when you slightly damage it, and let's say it heals and it feels like it's 100%, but what can happen is those fibers just start growing back like spaghetti when they're supposed to be growing back like violin strings, straight up and down, strong. But when they start growing back like spaghetti, that's where you have continued pain and continued problems. So you have to do decentric exercises to re-tear those fibers and allow them to grow back straight up and down. And that's when the pain starts to subside. So what we're looking at here is when you're dealing with Achilles tendinosis or Achilles tendonitis, it's generally about pain threshold. You know, I know I played with this for a while. I didn't play it. I wasn't 100% because whenever your foot is hurting to that degree, you're always thinking about it. It slows you down and you don't have that explosion that you would normally have. And so that's going to affect AD. The good thing about the situation is that the Lakers have given themselves a fairly large cushion. They're 21-7 right now. And when we look at their schedule of games going forward into the future, they got the Timberwolves. That's a winnable game. That's a game that they should win. They should move to 22-7 if they can find a way to beat the Timberwolves, but they're not a pushover. Thursday, you have the Nets. That's going to be the challenge. Can you beat them without an Anthony Davis? Now, the Nets have shown a propensity to lose these types of games, to lose to teams that they should beat, especially teams that are undermanned. We saw this with the Cavs. We saw this with the Grizzlies. You know, we saw this with the Wizards. We know that they can give up these types of games, but we've also seen them play far above their own expectations during big games. So I think everybody's going to be hyped to play against LeBron Thursday night. We'll definitely be tuning in to check that game out. We also have the Heat. Yeah, that's going to be an NBA Finals rematch. A lot of guys are going to be got that game on their calendar, looking to play the Lakers again. You know, so we know that the Heat are going to come out and give the Lakers their best shot. That's another winnable game for the Lakers, but it's not going to be easy. You got the Wizards coming up. All right, that's a winnable game. Then you have the Jazz coming up on the February 24th. All right, that's going to be a test. Those are probably the two best teams in the NBA right now. All right, I don't expect AD to be back by the 24th. All right, that's only about 7 days from now. All right, so I don't expect them to be back by then. I think this is a game that they're going to have to find a way to win it without AD. All right, and this is how they start to find their identity. They got the Blazers, Warriors, and then they got Suns. So, you know, when you're looking at their schedule, they don't have a chump schedule. When we're looking at their next, when we're looking at their next 10 games, their schedule, their strength of schedule is pretty solid. You got the Kings, they're not a pushover. You got the you got the Suns, Warriors, and Blazers. We know all those teams can play them tough. We definitely got the Utah Jazz. The Wizards are not an easy out. You know, even though they're still one of the worst teams in the league, they're not an easy out. You got the Heat, the Nets, and the Timberwolves. So, I mean, they have a schedule. I think over the next 10 games, if they can come out of these next 10 games 6-4, maybe 7-3 if they get lucky, that will be a great number. If they can do better than that, great. But I think if they, at a bare minimum, if they can come out of these next 10 games at a 6-4 without AD, I think that's solid, holding it down. All right. But then you also have to look at whatever timetable the doctors give Anthony Davis. Now, in my opinion, I think if the doctors say we need you out 2 weeks, then I'm telling AD stay out a month. All right, because the important thing here is the long run. Everyone has the Lakers projected to do what? Not just get to the playoffs. They have them projected to win it all. The only way you can win it all is if Anthony Davis is 100% healthy. All right, I think you should bring him back in a month. All right, also give him that additional time to rest over the course of the All-Star break, which another week, which essentially that's a free week. Another 5 days of rest that he can get. And then we come back into the second half of the season and then put him on a minutes restriction. Bring him back in slowly. Make sure he doesn't aggravate that Achilles again. And then you just kind of go from there. All right. But it is what it is. You guys, make sure you let me know what you think about Anthony Davis and the Los Angeles Lakers situation. I think that they need to be happy, one, that this wasn't an Achilles tear or rupture. And two, their schedule is not too hectic. 10 games out is not too hectic. I think we can reevaluate Anthony Davis after 10 games, see where he's at. Again, I don't think he should come back that soon. I think he should stay out for 30 days or longer and then just come back fully healthy. But if you are in the live chat of this video, make sure that you're commenting. Let me know your thoughts and questions on this particular topic because, hey, man, I think I'm one of those people out there. I say the Lakers need to. The only way I see the Lakers losing is if somebody beats them. Now, if they go into a series without Anthony Davis, well, then I'm going to have to reevaluate that assessment because they cannot win in that NBA championship without Anthony Davis being fully healthy in my eyes. All right. But, hey, it's FYF Sportsman. It's been another great podcast episode. All right, we're going to continue to come with these basketball film study videos all the time. We really, as we get into the All-Star break and then, even after the All-Star break, we really want to use these videos to start really learning and understanding these teams, their tendencies, substitution patterns, what they like, what they don't like. When do they lose and how they lose? That's all important when you're breaking down these teams, all right, and when you're making your projections for the playoffs. So make sure that you guys let us know what you think about this video in the comments. Also, let us know what you think about this injury to Anthony Davis. That's the biggest topic of the day. What's going to go on with Anthony Davis? How should the Lakers handle this? Is this a case for extended rest time? I think it is, but hey, there are probably a lot of Laker fans that don't believe this because just a few weeks ago, I heard Laker fans saying that he's not injured. He's just playing like a bum. And now it comes out that he's dealing with this Achilles. So I've dealt with it myself. When once you start feeling that pain down there, everything you do is a mental hurdle. It's a mental challenge because it hurts. You can't accelerate at the speed you normally accelerate at. Then in the back of your mind, and I know AD, he might not say it, but he's thinking about, can this thing rupture? Can I get 100%? Maybe he's taking it easy because he's feeling all this pain. It's just a possibility. Hey, salute to everybody for watching the video. Hey, 20K has came and went. We've hit 20K subscribers. Again, next goal, not 50K, not 30K, none of that. The next goal is 100K. All right, next goal is 100K. We need that YouTube plaque on the wall. That's coming next. All right, so I can't wait till we get there. That's going to be a crazy day. But with the fact that we got to 20K this fast, it's a testament. I know we can get there. All right, everybody's engaging, everybody's sharing the videos, everybody's doing what they need to do to help this channel grow. Hey, so salute to all the subscribers doing what they need to do on their part. But hey, it's been another great podcast video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe on your way out the door. Hey, but until then, it is FYF Sports.
Oh, you gangsters think you tough, knowing you ain't bout that life. Okay, now we call your bluff, this time that you pay the price. Oh, you scared, huh? Police bout to read them rights. I don't wanna go to jail, man, might not get no bail, man. Oh, you gangsters think you tough until them rollers pull them cuffs. Okay, now we call your bluff, you just be talking all that stuff. Oh, you a big dog, huh? Cut it out, boy, not even close. I don't wanna go to jail, man, I'm broke, can't get no bail, man.